You can explain.
All right, well, for the longest time, we would tell people that we met through a friend or whatever, because we ended up going to the same university, so that was the easy answer. But now, you know, we're secure enough in our relationship to admit that we met on a Spice Girls message board. Yeah. We both grew up gay in like maybe communities that weren't really super accepting, and at a time that wasn't like super accepting, and like at a time when I guess we didn't really have like people that were so outspoken about it. I think maybe that's part of like why we loved the Spice Girls so much. It was kind of like our gay icons of
the late 90s.
The late 90s. I had moved to Toronto when I was 18. I was young and I was looking to meet new people, and we eventually hung out, and then we went, I don't know, ever since it's been great.
Sometimes when you meet someone, you maybe have an expectation of what they're gonna look like or whatever, but I went on this date with no expectations, and he looked amazing, and we had a lot to talk about. What?
No,
what was that?
No, that was
being nice.
Okay, good.
So I thought he thought I was handsome, and we had a lot to talk about, and I don't really think that we had any like moments where we didn't have anything to say. So it was a full on experience from the first day.
Met at a mutual friend's birthday party. I was sort of being my reclusive, shy self, DJing in the corner on my iPod.
Dan was the only person I didn't know. I wondered who he was.
I think it was my choice of music, but yeah, more than my looks. Her friend came up to me and was like, "You should pay attention to Surrey." I was like, "Why?"
And then it turned into
it was my mission for the rest of the night, to get a phone number.
Which he didn't get.
I didn't get it.
So I went to see Dan's show, and then after Dan's show, another friend of ours had a party after, and then I think that was like when we like started talking.
Yeah.
The day after that show that he had, and we met up at the Lakeview.
And had about 6 mimosas before work.
Yeah. It's very awkward. We stared at each other.
We didn't say anything. We were just like,
In high school, I was in grade 12. I was helping to direct a show choir called Vocal Fusion, and we needed a guitar player for Vocal Fusion. The teacher suggested Jamie, who I didn't know. So he came in, and that's kind of how we met.
It was really superficial. At first when I saw Samara, I thought blonde hair, got the teenage pants on. I thought she was one of those girls that I'm gonna have to listen to and do what they want, but yeah, first impression was wrong. Turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
I definitely liked Jamie right away. I like the dorky type. It was love at first sight. He played guitar in the choir, and then I asked him if he would be interested in playing guitar for me. I always wanted to have other instruments in my music, and I thought he was the perfect person to play the guitar for me, and it was just a good excuse to spend more time together, and the rest is history pretty much.
We met for the first time originally when we were in university. Yep. And I was much younger than him, like really almost, he was almost perverted really, how much younger I am than you.
Just 4 years.
Yeah. What was your initial impression of me?
Funny.
Mm-hmm.
Loud. Gregarious.
After university, like 6 years afterwards, we both were living in apartment buildings in Toronto beside each other. So then we all sort of got reconnected. And then, you know, I think looking at me, you can tell why he fell in love, like immediately. I must say it took him a while to, you know, make a move, but he made it. And now here we are, 11 years later.
Wednesday night, October 25th, late, dark, fall, rainy night. And next thing I saw, the band was coming in from the city, and I saw this tall, long-haired, mustached guy go by the window. And I said,
She was a surfer girl in the crowd. She was tan, beautiful blonde, but she had a wonderful smile.
And when he came down after the second set, he went and got a Coke. We sat down and shared a Coke, and I stared into his deep green eyes and fell in love, and we've been together ever since. I had my last boyfriend at 15. I didn't want any more because they just got on my nerves. And then he walked into my life, and literally that was the end of it. We met in October. I moved in with him in May, and we got married in June.
I know when we were first together, we were listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash, Jefferson Airplane, but we was also listening to Gary Bartz and Miles Davis and Richard Harris. We had this collection of stuff, and none of it made any sense.
No.
We just liked a lot of different music. We had Blood, Sweat and Tears. I think we had that too.
We had Eric Mercury CD.
Eric Mercury. It was just a constant flow of stuff.
Talking Heads.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Talking Heads, actually.
I really liked alternative music a lot more when I was younger, so I was really into like Garbage and stuff that still had a pop sensibility, and I guess had a strong female presence, but then I kind of got into the Spice Girls at the same time, and late 90s R&B and like, you know, sort of fun hip hop. That was a very 90s.
She was listening to a lot of Dave Matthews.
Shut it. Ask any girl in university in the 90s what was like a main staple of her musical diet, and she will say, Dave Matthews.
Yeah. Jurassic 5?
Yeah.
That was a big album when we first started dating.
I know who else. Wyclef. I remember loving that song so much. Beck.
Chemical Brothers.
Yeah. Sloan. I went through a big Sloan phase.
Well, one of my favorite bands, at least then, is Alexis on Fire. They were one of the bands that got me through high school. I think like everyone has a band that they went through with high school to get through all that emotional like change and stuff, and Alexis on Fire was like there for me.
Fall Out Boy is who got me through high school, and everyone thinks that's super lame, but you know, can't judge that kind of band in people's lives. So when you're 14, 15, that's when, you know, music saves your life, right?
Yeah, before, I guess, the iTunes era, before you could kind of like create your own albums and packages, I really liked compilation albums, but I was more into the pop music for sure. I loved like anything that I could dance to, anything that made me happy, anything that was fun.
So we like rhythm and blues, we like pop, we like rock, we like jazz.
Artists that we have in common that we love equally would be like the Black Keys.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely the Black Keys. Who else do we love? Obviously classic rock. We
Beatles,
both love the Beatles, yes, the Rolling
Zeppelin,
Stones, yes.
all the classics.
And he's introduced me to like the Arctic Monkeys and like, I don't know, John Mayer. And I introduced him to Regina Spektor, who's like my favorite Fall Out Boy, who he did not initially like, but now likes because of me.
There was a time when a new record came like The Byrds, when The Byrds came out.
Oh God!
It was in
Fifth
stereo.
Dimension.
It was in stereo, and I mean, it would just roar. I mean, if it was Marvin Gaye, it would roar. We would listen. It was never background. Now you share publicly all the time. So, I mean, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter. As soon as you hear something, you share it, and a whole bunch of you are listening to it. Then you move on.
I listen to music all day long at work.
Stan emails me like playlists or songs
emailing
all the
her
time.
bands. I'll be like, check this out, check this out, check this out. And then she usually doesn't respond to those at all, so I have no idea if she checked it out or not.
If we really like something, I think we tend to share it immediately. We tend to spend a lot of time, if we're making time to listen to music, we'll listen to music that we already know or that we really, really like. So, like, we'll put on the record player and we'll put on, like, I don't know, like Lana Del Rey or Arcade Fire or Ray of Mariah.
So Will knows a lot about hip hop. Looking at him, people would not guess that probably, but knows a lot. So when Will and I started dating, I was like, you know, I was this like kind of rocker, indie rock, all this stuff, right? I'm like, oh, hip hop. He's like, no, you're not listening to the right hip hop, right? So then he introduced me to the right hip hop.
Well, I'll make a lot of like playlists on iTunes for the car, and then if we're going up to the cottage or if we're going shopping or whatever, like I'll throw it on and I'll be like, oh, you have to hear this. I don't know, you kind of do the same. So sharing music has become more about that now.
A lot of times too, I'll just bring in the music like on my phone and something. I'll just be like, hey, just listen to this. Like, I'll stop band practice for just everyone listen. And I plug it in, play it. We agree mutually upon the music that we both like, but like I think the music that we feel really strongly about, we share. Like we both share the music that we both really have an emotional attachment to.
We bring different music to each other, you know what I mean? So Larissa's often finding different indie rock bands, and generally if she likes them, I like them, so it works out great. And then I'm the same thing with kind of maybe some hip hop or electronic music or that kind of stuff. I sort of bring it into the fold, and but usually for the most part, if one of us likes it, then the other one does. So we
except for Skrillex.
I made Jamie a mix CD as part of his very large, very generous homemade birthday gift.
It was like in the era where like iTunes was kind of around, but it wasn't really like the main vehicle for delivering music, so you couldn't just be like, okay, 99 cents, click, download, done. It was more still like, I don't know, like through personal interest that you would find types of music or different types of songs. So I would just get really excited to make a mix CD for him. Because I guess we had quite different musical interests, and I guess I wanted to impress him with my vast array of knowledge about everything.
It was about burning CDs when we were dating.
Yeah, they're like different themed ones, like
Funk Folio Trunk.
I gave them all names.
And then for her 30th birthday, I made her like a 30 years of awesome, I called it.
I feel like when we first met, we'd do it almost on a weekly basis. Like we wouldn't see each other every day like we do now. So it was, I don't know, kind of throughout the week, you're like thinking about all these things, and I'd be thinking about him, and like I'm sure he'd be thinking about me, and I'd just get flashes of, I don't know, moments or memories or songs, and I'd love to compile that. And like we would go all out and like we'd make covers for them, and you know, we'd have all the track listing. Like
it was more like I like these songs and they feel really good, and they kind of flow together and they remind me of you somehow.
Every time he would like turn up a song on the radio or something, I would take note and be like, okay, he likes that song, whatever. I knew his favorite song ever in the whole world is Roxanne. So I put Roxanne first.
You know what happens now is like what we were listening to before. It was the party playlist that Larissa made for my birthday. And that's usually what ends up happening is we'll make a party playlist, and then that will become our kind of, you know, shuffle randomness for a few months.
It's really interesting because it's one of the most intimate ways to share how you're feeling about someone or how you're feeling about a specific situation in your life. I literally sat on the computer for, I can't even tell you, like maybe, I don't know, 24 hours, not necessarily all in a row, but after work and just privately, just to prepare the CD for you, thinking about songs that really reminded me of you, or songs that like I really liked that I wanted you to listen to. And for me, it was a way to tell you something that I couldn't tell you, or obviously I can't sing, so I couldn't sing it to you.
And I made the CD and then I labeled it on the back, like every song that was on there. And he like looked at it and he was like, ooh, he just like totally teared up.
And I actually didn't know a lot of the songs on it either. So like he introduced me to new music and new bands, but also like I felt like I was like in junior high school again, like playing the same mixtape over and over again. Like
an interesting way to spend or share time together that's not necessarily like a focused activity, but like giving him something to listen to, feel like is sort of like a fun and I guess intimate way to share how I'm feeling about a particular situation.
Try to think of the first concert you and I went to together.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I can't remember. It was Jack Johnson at the amphitheater.
Oh,
before we moved out west.
Yes, that's right. We did go to that, yeah.
Oh, another one I remember. Maybe it might have been before that. Boston.
Oh yeah, Boston.
I got free tickets.
Amazing.
I was doing an internship for this radio station, and the guy's like, hey Primo, you want to go see Boston tonight? No, he asked like all of the interns, who wants to see Boston? Everyone's like, lame. Are you joking? Yes. Remember that thing? A massive organ.
The whole stage rotated and turned into this giant organ.
It was all like
revealed.
massive rockers smoking dope, listening to Boston.
Was it garbage?
Was it garbage? It was garbage.
I think so.
I saw Garbage in like the early 2000s, and they were promoting their Bleed Like Me album, and I think that was for sure our first concert.
I think so.
Which was super epic.
I got in a fight
with a big, mean lady.
Yeah. It really kind of like encapsulated that period where we met.
We both love going to see live music.
Yeah,
as live musicians, we appreciate live music.
Yeah.
We love live music. We go to our friends' bands' concerts. We go to huge concerts. Like I said, we've gone to BTO, Regina Spektor,
Santana.
Fall Out Boy, Santana.
We're the type that is really not afraid to like, you know, belt out and sing with the performers on stage and dance and stuff. Like at Santana, I think we were just dancing the whole time.
Yeah, we were dancing the whole time.
Well, I was thinking the Pablo Millionaires. Pablo Millionaires made us cry.
Yeah.
Like we're in Havana and we're photographing a concert at the Havana Jazz Festival. Next thing you know, this guy walks out. This indistinguished looking guy. Next thing you know, he starts singing. We're trying to take pictures. We're crying.
Well, but we don't know we're both crying.
No. But we find out, and so we meet in the middle to go up the aisle at the end of the concert. We're not just crying by that point, we're sobbing to the point where you go.
This is authentic, great Cuban singing.
Unbelievable.
And heroic singing, you know. They're all in Spanish. We don't understand a word of Spanish, but what it did, it just wrecked your body.
I think we went to Coachella like 2 weeks after we broke up.
Yeah, maybe it was.
I was still very like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know, I'm still not cool with this. Like, you like crawling back to me the next day after 2 weeks of avoiding me and me finally having the nerve to break up with you.
Once we got there and the music kind of took over and the vibe of the desert and the heat and seeing her in her element, not caring about anyone around is sort of like, I clued in to how cool she was.
Yeah, I think, you know, I was able to just kind of like be me and, you know, just have a really great time. And I think that kind of like energy kind of carried on.
I remember sitting there at like 6 a.m, Friday morning, on top of the van that we had rented, just kind of watching the sun come up over the palm trees. It was me and her. And
Yeah, we stayed up all night. We watched the sunrise. We did like a walk around. It was like all really surreal because also I hadn't slept at all. And I kept falling asleep between sets because I was so tired. And Dan, like, I just remember Dan catching
it's like
me.
holding her up.
Like me,
that.
like standing there and
Like
just like
Weekend at
almost like
Bernie's.
fainting. And then Dan catching me, like he was there to catch me in between.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting back together at Coachella.
So I mean, I'll go to the kind of stuff that he likes. He'll go to the kind of stuff that I like. I would say the most memorable one was Regina Spektor, though.
Yeah, up until that point, I was kind of like a meh on Regina Spektor. I thought she was a good singer and stuff, but like her songs, I didn't really listen to much. But then after the concert, I really took a liking to some of the songs. I just like I'd have to go after the concert, find the song, and like listen to it.
He
over
has
and
all
over.
of her music on his phone now.
Toronto was voted Spice City because they had a fan vote, so the city with the most votes would be added as the final date. And so Toronto won, which is kind of crazy and I feel like kind of symbolic in a way. The second show, we were second row behind Victoria Beckham's kids and Mel B's kids, and it really was kind of like the closing chapter in the book.
It definitely was the closing chapter. Ever since then, we haven't really listened to their music or really. Like,
we have, but it hasn't been to like the same extent.
And the one that was really impactful for its importance was the first time Bob Marley came here in 1975. The age group was anywhere from 6 to 75. It was the whole Jamaican community, you know. So Bob Marley, early 1960, became part of this culturally. Well, he didn't play here until 1975. It was like Christ had shown up, and everybody was like just overwhelmed.
And then Dex, we went to Osheaga with Dex, and Juliet's just new, our baby girl.
He's been twice.
He's been twice to Osheaga.
And he really likes all of it, really.
Now we have a little girl to bring in and potentially damage her hearing.
3 years ago, we had this connection at Coachella. That kind of felt serendipitous to me, and I felt like I should do something special at Coachella. Well, I bought a ring and I asked her to marry me at Coachella.
I had no idea.
Truthfully, I don't remember much about before Coachella or before I asked you, because literally I had this ring in my pocket the whole time. So I'm like carrying it around. I'm like, when is the moment? When is the moment?
It was beautiful. It's like mountains and sun, and the sun was setting. We were blasting music. I'm pretty sure I was like dancing and jumping around on the Mustang, just the two of us.
Because I'm sitting there and I have it in my pocket and I'm just like, song after song is playing and I'm like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And I kept getting out of the car and like walking around the car. There's campsites on either side of us and this neighbor kept coming up, you know, like they're completely wasted and having a great time and they're like, what do you guys, where are you guys from? And the sun is like, basically, it's like almost dark. I just like reached in the car with it in my hand and I put it in her hand.
Shit,
and I was
shoved it in my hand.
I was like, here, just take this before it gets dark.
We had a no fuss, no muss marriage. Okay, we were hippies. We got married in his parents' living room, and
it was over with.
And then we went to the movies.
I was really determined to do something special for our wedding, and our wedding's been all about kind of thinking outside the box and not being super traditional and being a little bit like more fun and whatever. So I was like, let's write like a theme song for our wedding. So we actually wrote it together and we recorded it together and it came out really well and it's really fun. And I think that like our guests are really gonna get a kick out of it and it's gonna be a great way to kind of start off the night.
We also sang at our wedding too.
Mm-hmm. Instead of a thank you speech, we sang a thank you song.
We sang a thank you song.
I played it on my guitar. We wrote it. It was to the tune of
Something to Believe In by Poison.
Give me something to believe in.
Thanks for coming to our wedding.
Yeah, so that was basically it. Thanks for coming to our wedding.
I'm glad I'm not DJing my wedding because I don't even know where I would begin.
There's so many genres of music that we like. I think for different parts of the night would be different styles of music.
Yeah, then I kind of envision like, because my mom will be there and your parents will be there. So something that'll
yeah, a lot of
cross those generations. We kind of put it on the back burner and it was like last minute thing, like, oh, let's make the tables into record covers and that sort of thing, like where music sort of intertwined in the whole thing. First Dance was Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac. One of my favorite Fleetwood Mac albums, Tango in the Night. The thing with us is that we don't really like love songs. So we don't really have that song like other people might have, you know, like Shania Twain or whatever.
This was actually amazing because we found a DJ company that would basically let you pick the playlist. So I think we're gonna definitely keep it sort of in our own musical palette.
Yeah.
But obviously put in a couple things that everyone knows so it sort of appeals to everybody.
We had a DJ, but we had organized for this great DJ and then at the last minute he pulled the chute.
His grandma died. He sent her a replacement and the replacement was... He started busting out house music. I'm like,
yeah.
Do you notice that there's like 70-year-olds? They don't want to listen to house.
We went to the 118 Club Washington.
It was Billy Paul.
Billy Paul was playing.
Who had Me and Mrs. Jones was a hit at the time.
And so we went in there. Neither one of us ever drank at all alcohol in any way whatsoever. So, but we went in there to hear Billy Paul. And when he found out that it was our marriage night, then he sang Me and Mrs. King to us. And then after his set, then we spent the rest of the night hanging out in one of those little rooms, you know, that was there. And that was a really fun, special time.
That was
and then
a
tell the other one.
time.
Our song is probably Gravity by John Mayer because we slow danced to that song a million times.
It was late at night and I put it on iTunes and stuff. And I just I pulled her like off of the bed and I was just like, hey, let's just dance around. And so that's what we did. We just danced to that song.
Danced, yeah.
And
by ourselves.
From there, that's our song.
Yeah.
It just played endlessly and it was MacArthur Park.
And we cried, we would cry. If you put it on today, we'd probably cry.
And to make that even better is that it was the album of romance for us, but it was also the album that was nostalgic in it.
When we were first together.
When we were first together.
And then we had him leaving to go to Vietnam hanging over our heads, these two newlywed in love.
If you said a specific artist or something like that, I think both of us would agree Marvin Gaye connects the most with us both. And it's the volume of Marvin Gaye's stuff. We both love all the early stuff, the stuff in the middle, and it played so much in our house.
There's a few. I don't know.
Well, Why Do You Love Me as a Song, which was the first single from Bleed Like Me, is definitely, I guess, like an anthemic song for us. But then there's a lot of really other embarrassing stuff.
I don't know, we were really into like really cheesy, terrible music.
It was a weird period in like the early 2000s where like the 90s weren't really nostalgic yet, but I felt like they were nostalgic enough for me.
We've always been, I guess, 90s kids.
Stars had come out with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so we got really obsessed with their, not their first album, their second album, but we got married, and they're like, oh, you know, you don't have to, but you dance to a song. So we and I were trying to find a song. So we danced to one of their songs, which was Sleep Tonight, which might not even be about love, but we just liked it, and it was just kind of short. Remember?
Yeah, it's good.
The word love was
nice
in it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but it could be tragic, we're not sure.
I think right now it's Beck.
Yeah, Beck's
Like the
that
new
Beck
Beck album. But I mean, in the beginning, there were songs that I would play on guitar and stuff, like that Bob Dylan song.
Yeah.
It's totally about breaking up, but
which kind of like fit the time because
yeah, it did totally.
Because we totally broke up.
What was that song we used to cry to? This time we always made it.
This time we almost made it, didn't we, girl?
Yeah. Oh God.
But he wrote all these great songs, and so he comes out and having him on the radio and sitting there discussing all these songs and telling him, man, you can't believe what went on with that record. So he goes, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, these are soundtracks to people's lives or a specific moment in their life when there was something intense and passionate and impressing going on.
Of false hope, 3 years of struggle down the line.
We had decks and started playing music. They connect so much to that music.
Was walking tightrope, every breeze had me falling blind.
We've been through so many like experiences and ups and downs, and I guess music is always constant in everybody's lives.
She hid her heartbeats. 3 simple words were all she said. She said, I love you, and I found I was born again.
Even though we're sort of moving on in years, we maintain our sort of youthful exuberance of hearing something new.
I searched 3 cities, 3 ways I fought to become whole.
Maybe it's more about like just the vibe and like how we react to the song together and love it together.
Caught up in circles, my ghost like fog around my soul. 3 careful exhales, 3 times repeated through my head.
I said I love you,
inhaled what was given.
I never had a boyfriend who was so involved in music, and I realized how much I need it.
We painted pictures with our words. We built our castles in the sand. Still facing all the waves we made, unfazed upon the shores we made.
It's not easy, but it's
ourselves with our words. We built our castles in the sand, still facing all the waves we made, unfazed upon the shores we made.